Thanks for joining us for a trip to the Dordogne region of France. This gorgeous slice of the country is known for its idyllic landscapes, medieval chateaus, and unique cuisine featuring foie gras. Let me explain why I think this is the best kept secret in France. We kicked off our time here in Sarlat-la-Canéda. Sarlat is the quintessential medieval town that you're coming to the region to see.
It's time to go to the Wednesday market. They have two markets here. One is on Saturday, that's the bigger one that's got all kinds of items. Wednesday is specifically for food, so a lot of the farmers and food vendors come into town and sell their wares.
Their food wares.
Food wares, yeah, not their underwears. So we have a canoe ride at 10:30, so we're here just before 9 o'clock to get our money's worth.
In addition to foie gras, a big part of the Dordogne's economy is the cultivation and sale of strawberries, truffles, and walnuts. You can find just about anything walnut or truffle based here, if that's your thing. Knowing that our canoe ride was to follow, we loaded up on some snacks and perused the rest of the market, which included various meats prepared in many styles and delicious fresh bread, of course. This is France, after all. Next up, we booked a tandem canoe with Périgord Adventure Loires. I've wanted to cruise down the Dordogne River since seeing Rick Steves do the same on his show many years ago, and it did not disappoint. We opted for the Vitrac to Beynac route, which was just over 15 kilometers or 9 miles.
I'm back here, sipping. Cheers. Got my baguette here. Break off a piece of that. Dip it in the cheese. And then you got this delicious little treat when your wife's doing the work.
I was gonna say, is this a food tour for John while the wife paddles?
Maybe.
The beauty of this tour is it is completely at your own pace, and you can pull off to the side of the river at any time you want to explore a new little town or village along the way. You simply turn up to your stop on the river, hop in your canoe, and the tour company picks you up at the other end and brings you back to your car. For the route starting in Vitrac and ending in Beynac, the must-see stops are certainly La Roque-Gageac for the quaint little cliffside town which you just saw, and Castelnau-la-Chapelle for some of the best chateaus in the region. We decided to pull the canoe out of the water in La Roque-Gageac to try out foie gras. Foie gras is the liver of a duck or goose that has been force-fed to fatten them up. This is a controversial practice that is banned in many countries, but is essential to understanding the gastronomy and economy of this area.
Aaron's first foie gras. Yeah, pan-seared foie gras on the Dordogne. Just melts in your mouth. Very good.
After lunch, there's much more to see on the way to Vitrac as medieval chateaus line the banks of the Dordogne for the rest of your trip.
Truly is mad passing these castles or chateaus right along the water, because during the 100 Years' War, which is like the mid-1300s to the mid-1400s, England and France just built these opposing castles along the riverbank to basically stare at each other and defend these positions in the Dordogne River. So now here we are having some beers, just leisurely floating down these about 600 years after they were fighting to the death over this land. Are you playing fetch with a duck?
Maybe.
Today on our little chateau tour. So here we are at the beautiful Château des Milandes. And after that, we're going to Rocamadour, I believe it is. It's this really cool church that's like built right into the rock face.
Ask me where we're going later today.
Where are we going later today?
We're going to this really old like castle-y thing that's built up in the side of a mountain. I think it's called Rocamadour.
I don't think it's called Rochambeau,
Okay.
but
I think it's called Roquefort.
I don't think it's called that either. But I could be wrong.
Usually are.
As you can see, Château de Milandes has a beautiful garden behind us as well. So it's not just the chateau, but if you're into these types of things, it is #1 on TripAdvisor for things to do in the Dordogne. So as someone who used to work at TripAdvisor, their word is gospel, you know?
Unfortunately, most of the chateaus here do not allow photo or video inside, and that's the case here at Château de Milandes. However, this one gets my vote for the one to visit given the eccentric interior and fascinating audio tour explaining the history of ownership by American-born French singer and actress Josephine Baker. Your next must-see stop here in the Dordogne is the village of Rocamadour, about an hour east of Sarlat. Rocamadour is yet another town perched on cliffs overlooking the Dordogne River, but it also has a rich history and spiritual significance. Rocamadour became a major pilgrimage site after a body believed to be that of Saint Zacchaeus, who wiped the face of Jesus as he carried the cross, was found perfectly preserved in 1100. Since that miracle was declared, churches sprang up and were carved beautifully into the sides of the cliffs. The skill with which this was done makes it seem as though they simply grew out of the stone organically. The rest of the town is pretty touristy, but well worth a visit overall. One travel rule of thumb I have is that eventually you need to try the pizza in whatever country you are in.
Hop in!
So we headed back west to Domme to do just that.
Really, when you're traveling anywhere, it's fun to catch a little buzz during dinner and then stroll as the sun sets, and no better place than Domme. As you can see, all these little medieval walls and stray dogs that are running around. It's a pretty special place. The stray wives that are running around.
After a great meal and a nice walk around town, we sat down to enjoy one last sunset in Domme. We knew we couldn't come to rural France and not get in a good hike, so for our last act in the Dordogne, we laced up our boots to get a little lost in the French countryside, meet some animals along the way, and get a little taste of home.
I'm starting to think more and more that John secretly flew me back to the cornfields of my hometown in Minnesota. John, do you have something to say about that?
All I know is it's supposed to be knee-high by July, and we're now getting to shoulder height. So this is probably gonna be a good harvest. So you're walking through here, and you just hear sounds of swords clanging in your head. The English and the French just at war with one another. Or even before that, you talk about 2,000 years ago when the Romans were up here fighting in Gaul. And Caesar, that was his big triumph before he became dictator for life. And he marched on Rome. He had his big victory in Gaul. And that all the spoils that brought the Roman Empire. So pretty interesting to have that historical perspective. I think it's always really, really handy when you're traveling, particularly in Europe. So this is where we're gonna end it, I think. The beautiful French countryside of the Dordogne. Got a nice French beer. Aaron finished hers already. I'm not the only one drinking on this hike. So anyway, I hope you enjoyed this look at the Dordogne region. It's a really, really special place. Florence, Italy, coming up next. Thanks so much for joining. Make sure to like, subscribe, all that good stuff.
Smash that like button.
We'll see you soon.